Donnie, while you're here, because man, you know the cam questions are coming, bro. You know they're coming. We've already got one, and somebody was asking, is an N41 a good street cam?
As long as you got at least 373 gears, and this is the car's manual, of course. If it's got 373 gears, it won't buck on you too bad between probably 15 and 2,000 RPMs, 1,500 and 2,000 RPMs. That's if you've got like a stock 273 gear or like a 308, 327. If you're trying to cruise in fourth gear in a parking lot, only turning like 12 to 1,500 RPM, it's going to want to jump on you because that cam likes to be above 2,000.
Yeah, and a B cam will do the same thing for you guys too. So just so you know, right? These are things that you have to do. You need gears if you're going to run a cam in one of these cars.
Yeah, but to answer the question overall, yes, the N41, especially for a stock 302, I mean, that cam was developed for the probably majority of the guys that do the Gt40 setups or like a stock E7 302 with valve spring upgrade. That's what that cam was designed for. It'll work great with like a set of triple flow 170s because the lift and duration on it isn't too extreme, so it will still clear stock pistons and the stock and those valves in there and stuff like that. So yes, it's a great street cam, but yeah, it's you're sacrificing a little bit of drivability below 2,000 RPM if you don't have a rear end gear.
Donnie, why I got you on the phone, let's because man, I know this is what everybody wants to talk about is cams. I've got an AOD car. Okay, let's use the Carbon Fox as an example because most everybody knows what we have. I'll go through it real quick with you. 306 Canfield 192cc heads, Systemax intake, 24-pound injectors, headers, 410 gears, and a little stall. What cam would you recommend? I know we have to always check piston to valve clearance, guys, okay? You always got to check that. But what would be a good cam that you would recommend for an AOD setup like that?
For street, our N412 or the N412 is what I like to call it. The cam is essentially an N41 but the lobe separation of a B31. So it gives you kind of the best of both worlds for setups. You can cruise around with like a 355 gear. You don't have to go with something super tall. So having 410s, you said you had 410s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, with 410s, it's more than enough gear. A small stall. There was actually a car that I was tuning recently. It was a 91 hatch AOD, small stall. It still had like Kelly converters on it, which is kind of funny. But just a set of like your old school like X302 heads, stock 302, and we put the N412 in it. And yeah, that thing would just idle down to like 1,400 RPM, not buck at all, come to a stop, not surge or anything like that. It's a good mid-range power cam. And then it's got good street manners. So if you're trying to cruise around, have a nice little chop at idle, nothing crazy, but it's it still sounds good. It still is a good performer. So yeah, for your combo, an N412, so you don't lose any drivability, but it still gives you a little bit more gusto than like that trick flow stage one you got.
We get this question all the time, and I understand that you can't say that this will work. Based off your knowledge, what is the biggest cam you guys offer that will work with a stock bottom end setup? Let's assume you have stock heads, okay? Stock heads, stock bottom ends.
Stock E7, we're talking 87 to 93. Guys, real quick, 86 cars, I'm sorry, we do not offer a cam that works with stock 86 pistons. They do not have valve reliefs. I believe back in the day, Rick actually developed one, a speed density cam, but it really didn't go anywhere, and so that one went by the wayside. 87 to 93 cars, the biggest cam on a stock piston, stock head is the N51 HR. But the key to that camshaft is you have to degree it properly because it does have a little bit more lift than what it normally allows to clear. But the N51 HR, if it's degreed properly, will actually clear. But that cam is pretty rowdy for a stock heads and stock bottom end setup. That is the absolute biggest cam that we offer, even though we haven't had one on the shelf road in over a year. But that thing is not street friendly. It's for the guys that want to take it and just max effort on a Gt40 headed or like iron head stock piston and just let her eat kind of deal.
So what about Gt40 heads? Just real quick. Is it the same configuration? Do you run into any other issues, or will those work about the same as far as piston to valve?
Those work without a hitch on those. On pretty much the N412, N41, and N51HR. N51HR just has that little asterisk that you can't just put it in and line it up and call it a day. You have to actually check it.
There you go, guys. Donny B, did you want to address the other thing we were talking about? The cams. Why are you guys so secretive, man?
I know, we got those specs locked in a lockbox and hidden under concrete. So I found out, because I was a little confused by it when I first started. Anyway, here's what it comes down to. Back in the day, Crane used to grind Anderson's cams. Back when Crane was still big. The cams, Crane was grinding those for us. Well, Anderson didn't own the exclusive rights to those cams, so guess who was sending that off to the highest bidder, essentially. You guys know what the Trick Flow Stage 2 cam is, right? Mm-hmm. So Anderson used to have a camshaft called the B4, just B as in boy, number 4. You guys line up those specs, they're identical. So when Anderson moved on to the next place, again, guys, this is a long time ago, they decided to make sure they had exclusive rights to the cam specs themselves, which includes the load profiles, and therefore that way no one could sell them out from under them and run into that issue again where all of a sudden another company is calling an Anderson B4 cam a Trick Flow Stage 2 cam. Now, I'm not telling you guys that Trick Flow went in and bought out the rights or anything like that. No, that's not what happened. But essentially, you can see how that would start a snowball effect where those specs are accessible to other companies and they can label it as their own. Mm-hmm. No, I get it, I understand it. So that's when, Rick back in the day said, no, we're not doing that again. We're going to make sure that our new grinds are ours only. And they did not give out the specs back to that because they were still worried and paranoid that other companies were going to, take those specs and run with them. Yep. Guys, that's not the issue anymore. A lot of that stuff was, you're talking like early 2000s. Back when there wasn't as many options. Now our specs are easy to find, and if you can't find them online, you can call me. I have no problem going over those specs. It's not a big deal anymore because there's those specs. Again, you can go to someone that's bought a cam and get the cam card and see what the specs are.
That's right.
So it's not a big secret anymore. There's still a lot more behind it, but the main stuff that like 90% of the people are asking about, no problem. We can go over it with you guys. Not a big deal. Hope that guys answers any questions about the secret story behind the lockbox of cam specs.
Look, man, that's something that everybody has talked about for years and years. I'm going to say this, okay? I think it's badass that we don't know all that stuff. I think it's what's made Anderson cam so sought after and just so mysterious. I know that wasn't the intent, but to me, Anderson cams have always just, I don't know, they had this mystery about them, right? I understand it's aggravating. It was aggravating whenever I was looking, trying to figure out what are the specs for this cam? Will it work? Well, you call up Donny B and he will let you know the information that you need to know. One of the biggest things that you're going to run into issue-wise is like, will it clear this particular setup? Now, if you look on LMR and pretty much anywhere, you guys do a pretty good job of letting you know if this will work with stock pistons. This head, these pistons, I've noticed that that's covered pretty good. We just got a lot of information that we want to get out to you guys. I'd love to sit here and answer all of your questions because we have the man, I promise you, on with us right now. What do you guys recommend for a road racing application? So that's staying up in high RPMs.
Yep. Not anything with an HR series. If it's naturally aspirated, go with like a N51HR because it's that was designed for, the HR stands for high rev. It's got a low profile in it to, like, with the duration, it carries the power up into higher RPM and keeps your power there. If you're boosted, got the B31HR and the B41HR. Those cams are all designed to be high revers and keep the power band in the 4,000 to 6,500 RPM range. What cam do you recommend with stock bottom end, 302 with Trick Flow 170 heads and 1.7 rockers? J Dollar, the N21.
There you go.
That will work with stock bottom end pistons from any 87 to 95 car with Trick Flow 170s with a 202 valves. The N21.
There you go.
You'll be ready to rock and roll. That's naturally aspirated.
I love it, guys. That's why I wanted Donny on here because he knows this stuff. Man, we could do a whole live stream with nothing but cam talk. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Let's while we're here on the subject, what are some common questions that maybe you run across that maybe you get on a daily basis that you would like to go ahead and address now when it comes to cams? Something that you hear that comes across a pretty good bit.
Well, to be honest, the biggest question is when you're going to have them.
Yeah.
And guys, unfortunately, we're in the situation where I don't think it's any big secret. If you look at all the major cam manufacturers out there, and guess what? They're all facing the same issue. Well, the major issue is blanks. There's no cores, no brand new cores in the United States right now to do like a mass like shipment of big cams or anything like that. For example, I just got some B31 cams in the other day. Well, all of them were sold to previous people that already just placed an order for them.
So Format77 says, Donnie B, we appreciate all your help. Yes, we do.
I appreciate that. Real Fox Body Addicts, I'm curious what Me thinks of the eCam. The eCam is a good, like just street-friendly, choppity-chop cam. That's like one of those cams that makes some noise. Performance-wise, it'll do better than stock. It will do better than stock. But I remember, I had a trick flow stage 1 in my 88 that I had. But I was either going to get the E or the trick flow stage 1 because I wanted some chop. I wanted to be able to drive it around still. So it's still a good cam for a stock engine. It'll still have good driving manners and stuff. It still sound good at idle. Especially if you don't want something that's like too rowdy. You still want to just cruise around in.
Real quick, you got a supercharger on your car. Should you bother going with the B or just go with the naturally aspirated? Does it matter?
You're talking about efficiency at that point. Boost cams work great with boost because they don't have as much overlap, obviously. That was the design to be able to hold the boost and actually use it instead of lose it. So is it worth it? I don't know. Is 20 to 25 horsepower difference worth it to you?
See, these guys know.
Another common question I get is, hey, will my N41 still work in a supercharged application? The answer is yes. It's still going to work. It's still going to work great. But you put a B31 in that thing, and it's going to turn into a different animal, especially at higher RPM, where it's using that boost to the max. So
there you go.
You got to just determine if it's worth it to you to do a cam swap. Like for my car, my 87 that's got the turbo on it, we developed a new cam back when we could still get cams. I still have it in the box. It's going to be called the B41T. It's a turbo-specific cam for all the turbo guys out there. So it has something that's not as aggressive at idle, but I haven't installed it yet. But the reason I want to install it is because I want to see how good it is versus your standard boost-friendly cam. So that is going to come to our catalog, I guess you can say, at some point.
What do you think about your B21 cam? So Andrew has the B21, and I can tell you this. Now, I have never seen this happen before. That car is completely bone stock. I mean, completely. Stock headers and everything, stock intake. We put the B21 cam in that car with roller rockers, and the car was quicker. Honestly, I didn't expect that. Typically, you throw a cam in a bone stock car, it's not really going to do a whole lot. His car was quicker. That's all I can say, and it sounds nasty, so I like the B21.
Yeah, B21, that's a boost cam.
Yeah.
Also, so if Andrew ever decides to throw, and nitrous too, I should say that too. I know keep glancing over that, but it is nitrous friendly and boost friendly. So if Andrew throws, say, like one of those V3 Vortex on there, or decides to throw like 100, 150 shot at it, I think he's going to love it.
Let's see. So Neo said he made almost 800 horsepower with the B31. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the B31s is no joke. It's you set it up right with the proper valve springs and everything. Those cams will exceed the limits of what they advertise just because of the load design and stuff like that. So you can rip a B31. Big power, no problem. So
a B31 you use 1.6 and a B21 you use 1.7 roller rockers. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. T Perry 84 says stage 1 with nitrous setup. What are your thoughts?
Stage 1, what, cam?
Trick flow, I guess.
Trick flow stage 1. Depends on how big of a shot. Did he say how big the shot was? I didn't see it.
He didn't say. I'd figure probably a 75 to 125.
Okay. Yeah, anything above, like, say, 100, you're starting to peak its efficiency range of, like, any of the naturally aspirated cams. A trick flow stage 2 is more of the boost. Like I said, it's the exact same specs as the old Anderson B4, which is a boost cam. So you're going to be, if you try to push too much past like 125, you're outside that efficiency. So if you're on a dyno to like measure horsepower, you'd probably see the biggest gains sticking between 100 and 125 shot.
Bill Pay says trick flow stage 2 with an on 3 turbo.
Yeah, good combo. Make sure it's got good valve springs on the heads you're using, and yeah, rock and roll.
I wanted to go ahead and cover a lot of the common questions that I get. I wanted to ask Donny while I got him on the phone. Donny, man, thank you so much for coming on this live stream. It was perfect. It was awesome. I wish we could have answered more questions, but it is what it is. He's a busy man, and there's a lot of questions coming up.
Nakia, thanks so much for having me, man. It was great chatting.